We're here today, we're going to be doing a female breeding soundness examination, and I just wanted to point out the sort of facilities that we use when we're doing these breeding soundness evaluations. So I have a chute that's specially made for alpacas, so it's the right length and so on. All the measurements are appropriate for alpacas. If you do have llamas in here, they do tend to hang out the end a little bit, but most of my reproduction cases tend to be alpacas. So key things to notice about the chute is that it is actually elevated above the floor. That means that when the alpaca is in the chute, they often sit down, and which actually makes it easier to work on them, but obviously their bottom is then very close to the ground. So if it wasn't elevated, I wouldn't be able to actually get access to the back end of the alpaca without sort of grovelling on the floor. And some of the tools that we use at the back end, particularly our swabs for a culture, are very long, so you'd kind of need a cutout in the ground in order to be able to position the swab in order to get it up into the uterus. So having it elevated just makes it much easier to work, and it doesn't matter then if the animal cush is on the ground, and we don't have to sedate them and lift them up onto anything either. Also, you'll see that we have these, what we call a shoulder brace up at the front end. So when the animal steps up into the chute, they walk through and the head comes into this area here. Now this is a shoulder brace rather than a head gate. The idea being that alpacas will tend to sort of throw themselves forward. Sometimes they pull themselves backwards too, but if they throw themselves forward, you can't catch their head like the larger cattle and so on, where they have an actual head gate in their chutes. But if they throw themselves forward, you want this to be padded so that they don't hurt their shoulders. So we're essentially just closing it around their head, but they can always pull their head back if they want to. In order to stop that, we use these quick release ties that go on the side of the halter, and we can move those down if the animal cushes so that they're not hanging from their head, which obviously wouldn't be too comfortable. So that's the alpaca chute, and then obviously in order to do the breeding soundness examination, you have to have a decent ultrasound machine as well in order to view the reproductive tract and see some detail. So we've got a female here with us today, and we're going to just get her into the chute, and you can see how it all works. Move her head. She's actually walks quite nicely on the halter. Good girl. That's it. Step up. Good girl. Step up. Very good. Go. Go. Step up. Step up. That's it. Go. Yes. Good girl. That's it. Well done. Well done. So let's put that on the cheek peaks. Yeah. Okay. And piece there. This halter is actually a little bit loose, so we'll just tighten it up a bit. There we go, and we also just close the shoulder brace a little bit just to stop her from pushing forward. So she actually went in very nicely there. She's obviously halter broke, so is relatively calm about the whole process, but actually they normally load very easily. They just step up at the back. Sometimes they need a little bit more encouragement to step up, but they do it very nicely. And the nice thing about the chute here is that now she can't twist sideways, which could obviously introduce some more risk of injury. So the only thing she can really do is jump up and down within the safety of the chute here. She can't go sideways or anything like that, and she feels restrained, so they tend to, when they're in the chute, they tend to behave pretty well actually, because they're in an unfamiliar environment and they can't see an escape route. All right, let's get on with it.